talking Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Bobby.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, the premier source for news and information for the United Wrestling Network and the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and this fine gentleman sitting next to me is the illustrious DKM. I can't speak for who the names of the dogs that are barking, but this is the Alliance Guys. Welcome to the show, Mr. DKM. How are you today?
That was Haas and Socks that were barking.
Socks?
Yes. I didn't name them.
I believe you.
I didn't name any of the dogs.
That's the one thing that I get credit for naming the kids, not naming the dogs.
You get credit for naming the kids, not naming the dogs. Interesting.
My first daughter, Lily, I think you've met her. Actually, no, you didn't.
I didn't meet her.
No, you didn't.
Talked to her, but I've not met her.
Lily was named by her mother, and I totally got conned on that one because we made an agreement that she could pick the first name, if it was a girl, and I could pick the middle name. And if it was a boy, I'd get to pick the first name, and she would pick the middle name. And at the last minute, I got vetoed on the middle name. So a little animosity.
What is her middle name?
Cecilia.
And what'd you want?
And now I don't remember.
Wow, good job, Jay.
Well, the name I wanted to name her was Maddie, and that she's a better Lily than she would have been a Maddie.
I can agree with that.
But the other two, I got to name the first names, and I was Claire was supposed to be if Claire would have been a boy, her name was going to be Brody Stone. Mom picked the first name, I picked the middle name.
Oh, so you guys went the reverse on that one, huh?
Yeah, well, different wife, different agreement.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
And this wife, the one that I love, the one that I care for, actually wanted to include me in the process. So,
oh, that's nice of her.
Yeah, well,
I need to have a talk with her about stuff like that.
She's a good one. She's in San Francisco right now.
On purpose, or did you send her up there on a wild goose chase?
She wanted to go. She was supposed to go for 3 days. In the last minute, she canceled one of those days, so she'll be back tomorrow night as opposed to Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea what day it is.
Today is Thursday. You should know because we do this podcast on Thursday. And Matthew, my mom, because my dad was previously married and his name was John. There is a John Jr., John the Second, and a John the Third. My mom wanted to name me John Jr. and was this close to naming me Johnson, which would have been amazing to have as a name in junior high in the 90s. when those Big Dick Johnson shirts were all the popular fad. So I'm very glad that they ended up going with Jason as opposed to Johnson.
You know, the interesting thing was my wife or ex-wife and I had to agree on the names. And so the only thing that I insisted on was that whatever we named them, that's what we were going to call them. You know, it wasn't going to be one of those cases where we named them Matthew Jeffrey and called him Jeffrey or Jeff or, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
It was always one of those, if we're going to, like my older son's name is William. It was one of those things, if we're going to call him Bill or Billy or, you know, Will or whatever, that's what we're going to name him. But I won on that one and we got William.
This just handed to me. Matthew Underwood wants to know, have you heard about the Von Erichs doing local shows in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
I haven't heard anything yet. I've that being said, I don't follow a lot of the local independents that well, but I know there's some issues going on with Kevin right now, so I don't even know how much they're actually wrestling. So,
yeah, I had heard a little bit about that. I don't want to go into anything because I don't know how much of it's public or not. So I'm.
Well, I think it was Ross had said something publicly about him going to a care home.
Oh, geez.
I think. Didn't give a reason. I've heard possible reasons, but yeah, I mean, if you've looked at Kevin in some of the videos and stuff like that, you can tell he's lost a lot of weight and everything. And so I'm assuming there's probably something, you know, behind it.
Sure.
But you know, what it is officially, I don't know. So
it's so scary to me. Getting old, don't do it, you know, just don't do it.
And he's not that old, but he's not that young either.
No. Well, I mean, like, okay, so if you look at his contemporaries, right? How much younger was Kerry than Kevin?
Let's see. I want to say 4 years, but I'm not 100% sure.
So
it was Kevin, David, and then Kerry. And there wasn't a whole lot of age difference between them, unlike, because I think there was only 2 years between Kerry and David.
I'm just trying to do math here on this side.
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm terrible at math. That's why I have a calculator here, and I'm just real quick. 1957. That means he's 67 years old, and just at it for giggles, not giggles, but I wanted to see how old Ultimate Warrior was when he passed away. So 59. So he was only 2 years younger. He's only 2 years younger than Kevin, and he passed away like 10 years ago now. 10 years. Holy shit.
I remember what I was saying the other day about it being 7 years since Jinder Mahal was champion. It's just like, man, as you get older, things go crazy. Kerry was born in 60.
Double D is 26. Oh, you're a youngin'. But you know what, though? I will say this, and
just got married, so the aging is going to start speeding up here.
and DK can attest to this. I was probably about I was older than 26 when I started doing this. I was probably close to 30, if not 30. So yeah, time will hit you, Double D. And then Willie Bone wants you to know that Tyrese uses the Mississippi River for a bathtub. I drove over the Mississippi River in St. Louis. Actually, Dave Scooby drove me over the Mississippi River in St. Louis. It was kind of cool because we drove over the Mississippi River when I went to see Hard Times at DKM. I guess it's just about a little over a year ago. And then the anniversary show, I also drove over the Mississippi River. So, yeah. Okay. Double A, I can't talk anymore. AARP discounts are dope. Matthew Underwood, who was just at Raw last week, said he's going to go to AEW next Wednesday. I hope he has that Alliance sign that he brought last time. I saw it on TV. It was dope. Speaking of dope, my good friend Jaden, that's how you pronounce it, right? Jaden is on with us. Welcome to the show, pal.
Thank you. I'm having a little trouble hearing you, though. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. I use a different link to get here, or a different thing to get to the link, so sometimes that might be why.
Well, you're also old, too.
No, he's wrong.
Just see, I offended him. Dave Scooby says, to some, marriage is a word. To others, it's a sentence. Oh, damn.
Yeah. Some of us certainly know that.
Luthez says, hey-oh. I think Luthez would have made a great sidekick for the podcast if he was sitting here just laughing at all the zingers and hey-ohs. And Noob says, I'm watching some Ohio Valley tonight, and somehow I keep seeing Aaron Stevens scouting some wrestlers on OVW. Why do I get the feeling that we're going to see more NWA wrestlers going to other promotions? Well, the thing about most of the talent for the NWA, I think they're pretty much, it's very liberal on where they can work, right? So, like, Ohio Valley is fine because it's not, I mean, it's weird because in essence, it is direct competition to what the NWA is doing, but not in a sense where Ohio Valley is going to sign you away. And as long as you make NWA your priority, like, the Overman, EC3, his priority is the NWA and the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Outside of that, I think it's pretty much free reign. Now, you can't work Ring of Honor as World's Heavyweight Champion because you can't do the JOB on TV, that's for sure. But I bet if he was approached by AEW to come work and be treated as the World's Heavyweight Champion, I'm sure Billy would have no problem with that.
I'm not sure Billy won't have a problem with anything.
Or have a problem with everything. It's so hard to tell.
It's basically, but yeah.
Nothing and everything all at once. Yikes.
Love that shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it's available on Yahoo.
It is?
It is.
Are you sure?
I said Yahoo. Holy crap. I'm telling you, today's been a messed up day, man. My brain, it's just not here. It's available on Amazon. Jesus.
Okay, that sounds at least more realistic.
I mean, I guess you could go to Yahoo to look up Amazon, but I used my Amazon $10 gift card to pay for half of it.
Wait a minute, you had an Amazon gift card?
I get them sometimes.
Nobody gives me a gift card.
Well, you got to go out there and live in the world, my friend. People just give me things.
Oh, never mind.
What? Look, the craziest thing happened to me like a couple of years ago. Somebody gave me this title, but then after that, someone gave me this title, and then like many years before, someone gave me that title. I didn't pay for none of those.
Wow,
it's weird. People just give me things. I think it's because I'm funny.
I've only been given one belt and had to either buy or win the rest.
What? Who gave you what belt was it that you were given?
I have a very nice silver replica of the NWA 10 pounds of gold. I call it 10 pounds of silver, and it's actually probably weighs more than 10 pounds. It's got real nice leather and everything.
One of these days, will you take a photo and let me see it?
Sure, once I figure out where I put it.
How do you guys have these problems? I mean, DK, we learned the other day, DK has an entire room in his house dedicated to championship titles, and they hang off the stairwells like a chandelier. It's insane.
Like the chandelier.
By the way,
I wanna sing or swing. I mean,
you made. Look, DKM's leaving now.
you got to go take some medication after what I did to him.
I think you just went into the title room. By the way, Jeremy says they give them to you because they believe you're Kevin Owens. That might be something.
I think he must got a new toy.
Yeah, he's got a new belt. He went to the throne room. It's we called it the championship title room. What it really is a throne room with one chair, and the entire room is draped in championship gold. Let's see this belt. Holy shit! What is that?
It's a women's belt based on an old WWF design.
When I grow up, I want to have DKM money.
When I grow up, I want to have DKM money.
I'm screwed. I'm never going to grow up.
Luthez says the NWA middleweight title is on his want list. Are we talking about the title that was previously used as part of the J Crown? The one that was made appearances in CMLL? Which middleweight title are we talking about?
I was going to say, you'll have to be more specific because they've had about 4 different designs for it.
Yes, I think he wants all of them. Double D says, I have one room I can keep my wrestling stuff in. Why do you think there's so much shit in here? You think my wife lets me to put this stuff outside the room? No, this is it. This is all I get.
But you don't really know is that's literally the size of the room too.
Yeah,
I heard when you first got your first belt that you actually stole a shelf from your baby daughter. So
I hung it up in their room so that they could aspire for greatness. DK, don't you understand what the 10 pounds of gold means to me? The legacy, the history, the tradition. Screw damn Tyrus. Let's talk about some of the world heavyweight champions that were great.
Okay.
Or not.
Real quick, DK.
Yo.
What heavyweight, junior heavyweight, and tag team belt you currently do not own that you really want, especially if it's a extreme replica or even a ring worn?
The extreme replica.
You know, like one that actually is like a true, not like a cheap belt, like a true championship, like something like Mellon would make or something.
I would. The one belt I really want, and I don't know where it's at, is the junior heavyweight title that replaced the one I own that was held by Chance Prophet and Ricky Morton.
Chase Owens, you mean, not Chance Prophet.
Yeah, Chance Prophet.
He's been a long time since he was a junior heavyweight.
Apparently, my mind has gone with Jay's. They're probably out somewhere having a beer together.
By the way, real quick, do not go to replicatitlebelts.com. The domain does not exist anymore, and I found out the hard way. Don't do it.
Okay.
I don't want to know what site you ended up on.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's not as bad as you think, but not something I should be looking at while I'm doing a podcast. I'll say that.
Real quick, I already know Jay's answer. It's the NWA, the real NWA North American Championship. He wants that belt bad.
Oh man, if it comes up for sale, I'm gonna buy it. It's a title that I love dearly, and and what makes me really mad is that when the NWA had these belts that they were getting rid of, like it all went to some secret collector, and like nobody even gave me I would have sold a kidney or something to get this going, and no one even made it available to me. But what did they make available to you, DK? What did you get?
Yeah, I got the one junior heavyweight title that was held by Kevin Douglas.
That is so awesome, by the way. Like, I feel bad. I feel bad that they never offered it to Kevin, but I'm glad it ended up with somebody who really loves and appreciates it. So,
and then I got the 38.5 pounds of gold. That was the women's title.
Wait, that's the original?
Yeah.
Well, there were actually 2 of them because Tasha Simone had to have one made for her because
the other one was so heavy it was hurting
the
her
other
back.
one was too big, so she had to have a smaller one made. And last I heard, she still has that. But the one that Casey carried around and everything, and I think was used briefly somewhere else with some of the other champions, I own that.
Real quick, let me interrupt because Devin Dowling has a question about Chase Owens. Yes, the New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestler, Bullet Club member, Chase Owens was in fact the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. He was
3 times.
Yeah, he won. He was in the tournament to crown a new junior heavyweight champion that our pal Kevin Douglas, aka Kevin Frazier, won back in was that like 2010? I don't remember now. And then Kevin was unable to defend the title, and Chase won it in a decision match. And then I believe he traded the title with Jason Kincaid and then later Ricky Morton. And then I believe he lost it. I don't remember who he lost it to. Steve Anthony? No, that's not right.
Well, the Japanese one. The big
Liger, wasn't it?
One.
Was it Liger?
Liger.
I remember now.
I'm going to look it up because that's what I do.
In the state of New Jersey, back when there was NWA territories all over the country, a NWA territory, New Jersey-based NWA territory, has had the NWA World Heavyweight, the NWA World Women's, the NWA National, the NWA North American, the NWA North American Tag Team, and the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight Championship. The only title never defended in that time during that time period when Dog was part of the NWA was the tag team, but that was defended prior for NWA Cyberspace, aka NWA Shockwave. But that was when I was kind of part of TNA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then just to continue on with the conversation, yeah, that was Liger did win the title from Owens and then lost it to Steve Anthony. Then Anthony, I believe, lost it to, I should have really looked that up. He lost it to Tiger Mask 2, then Steve Anthony, then John Saxon, then Eric Andrews, then Mr. USA, then Barrett Brown. Then the title was sealed, Homicide, Kerry Morton, and our champion as of today, Colby freaking Carino. And then Devin Darlington, when was Ricky Morton's last single title run? Are you talking about the NWA? I think I can find that out for you.
He was AIWF champion at one time.
He held the World Junior Heavyweight Championship in 2014, and then
how long did he hold it for?
Like a week.
It was longer than that, but
2 months. He had one. So Cage Match only shows one title defense. He won the title on January 4th, 2014, and then lost it on March 7th, 2014. So, man, I mean,
there were no title defenses.
That was 10 years ago. Jeez.
I read the ownership group at that time, Riot Act, over putting the title on.
I think everybody did, especially Kevin Frazier. That's why he doesn't get any phone calls from the NWA anymore. Or at least that's what I think. In terms of single titles, he's currently the ACW Heavyweight Champion and has held that since 1996. But I don't think he's defended it ever once. He was the AIWF World Champion back in 2011. And everything else has been tag team champions. So, yeah. All right. So, what we were going to talk about tonight, and I think we should probably get to it.
Oh, we were talking about anything?
Yeah, no, I had a few things. I had a few things to talk about. Now, the first of which is late breaking news that was announced today via the Reality of Wrestling. Now, that's Booker T's wrestling promotion down there in Texas. I believe it's near Houston. And yes. The Reality of Wrestling has been, they've been putting on some shows for a couple of years now, and a lot of people have admired the training and the talents that have come out of reality wrestling. I think the most biggest name is Roxanne Perez. I think that's what she goes by in the WWE, right? Roxanne Perez.
Yes.
And she was a former Ring of Honor Women's Champion before being signed to NXT.
Roxy.
Roxy. Now they have made the announcement that they're going to be entering into a talent sharing agreement with the United Wrestling Networks, Championship Wrestling, and Memphis Wrestling, which right now, I mean, there's also Derby City Wrestling, but because of production issues right now, they're going to be producing both Derby City Wrestling and Championship Wrestling out of the same studio in Long Beach. So I don't really want to say like it's different, but it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. And those talents, we've already seen some of them appear in the United Wrestling Network. Of course, the most notable being Will Alday, who is the current Reality Wrestling Texas champion, I believe. I might have said that wrong. Will Alday, who made his first appearance for the United Wrestling Network during the Primetime Live series, but then also this working agreement has kind of been in the works for a while. Booker T was actually at a United Wrestling Network Championship Wrestling from Hollywood TV taping last year back in spring. So in terms of them working together, Reality Wrestling Heavyweight Champion Will Alday is the Reality Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. It's not surprising that this is coming to fruition. I know that it's been in the works for some time. It's not exactly Reality Wrestling joining the United Wrestling Network, but that might be the logical next step. Danny Limelight has already had a couple of appearances for Reality Wrestling. Like I said, Will Alday has been going back and forth too. And we could see potentially, other champions, other wrestlers in the United Wrestling Network make that trip down to Houston. DK, I mean, you are a fan of wrestling in Texas. You have been known to go to wrestling shows in Texas. Does this make Reality Wrestling a better product, the same, or worse?
The same. The truth is, there was already a lot of talent going back and forth between the groups. This just kind of solidifies and formalizes it. So
I'm sorry.
No, I was just. So I mean, we'll have to see. Does the world champion come and defend his title, or what? I mean,
Reality Wrestling.
Reality of Wrestling. They've had their belts on. What was in Hollywood Championship Wrestling or something, or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So, I don't think it changes much in reality, but it's a good PR.
I think it slightly gives them a little bit of a boost because now somebody looking to possibly get into both may try to get into one or the other now as a way to try to expand themselves. Somebody who may look to try to get something to get their name out there. So an indie name who may be looking to grow and like to get the exposure of both Reality Wrestling and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood now can maybe any other United Wrestling Network affiliates can now put his name in there and possibly get even more of a name out there. And it just lets basically people know that it's kind of a network. They're networking together, and it's always good to network together. That's why they have entire websites for that.
Is it always good to network together?
Doesn't always give good results, but yeah.
Okay.
Not every result is a good result, but some good results are great results.
And some bad results end up becoming good results too if you know how to work it properly.
Yeah.
And some bad results normally marry your sister.
Boy, you ain't kidding.
I think a couple of my sisters were bad results.
Say what now?
So I think a couple of my sisters were bad results.
They were the bad result. It could be.
Yeah. I tell everybody I'm the normal member of my family, and they laugh. And then they meet my family, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
It's like he wasn't wrong.
I was literally scrolling through my photo albums to see if I could see that picture of Booker T in the United Wrestling Network ring, and I just can't seem to locate it. It's kind of a bummer.
It's just like you. Never locate the things you need to.
I'm sure the NWA fandom is upset that they're not part of the NWA.
You know, and I got to be honest, with the NWA, especially as of late, kind of seemingly taking a lot of missteps and miscues, a promotion like Reality of Wrestling would have, I think, meant quite a lot of significance to the NWA. This is one of those deals where, and I hear what you guys are saying, like, well, maybe it doesn't do a whole lot, maybe it does, but I do feel like Reality of Wrestling is a promotion that obviously is being scouted by people who are involved with the WWE. Booker T has a relationship with the WWE. I'm sure if he finds
he's a NXT color guy.
I'm sure that his scouting of talent is beneficial to Reality Wrestling and to anybody that works with them. And could you imagine, having a guy like Dr. Tom and a guy like Ricky Morton, and you put those guys also in the same conversation with Booker T, scouting talent, finishing talent, and getting that next step for your roster. I feel like the NWA would have extremely benefited from a relationship with Reality Wrestling. And I also feel like the United Wrestling Network will benefit from this relationship, maybe more so than Reality Wrestling will, to be quite honest. But, that all remains to be seen. And I'm just speaking about, hypotheticals anyways.
That's kind of why I said I think more people who are looking to get noticed might now see this relationship as a more formal. And when I work into other different United Wrestling Networks promotions to try to get noticed. By the way, if Jay would have said the statement that DK said, I would have thought it was racist.
Which statement was that?
He said Booker T was the color guy for NXT.
Well, yes, but people know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I said. I know you said that. We know it was okay. We're just kidding, Jay. We're just kidding. No.
Dave Scooby with the zing of the night. Vince also had lots of relationships in the WWE, if the rumors are true. Well, that's a good segue, I guess.
It is.
Is that what we're talking about?
Well, do we have any NWA stuff to talk about? Would you rather me try to figure out what to talk about with the NWA?
I had some ideas, but you guys want to push it off the next week.
Well, it's because there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
What's going
on? I know what we're talking about.
Real quick, Jeremy says, I think I hate Booker T on commentary more than Corey Graves, but Booker has a great eye for talent. Matthew Underwood has one more thing I want to point out, and then we'll get to more conversation. But he says AML's Tracy E. Myers is hinting that they will retire this year and fold the promotion. Do you think William Patrick Corgan could invest there this year?
No.
I invest in what? And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be glib, but what is... Remember when he bought the NWA and people are like, well, what are you actually buying? What are you getting for your investment? AML has a great library, and it has some interesting talents that a lot of people remember very fondly or have seen them grow into new places. But at the end of the day, what could that library be worth? What could that opportunity be worth? If Billy wanted to, couldn't he just take the NWA name as it stands right now without any relationship with AML and start running those areas when AML closes? I mean,
100%. In all honesty, too, the retiring of Tracy Myers.
Yeah.
It's wrestling, promoting wrestling, being involved in wrestling is a very time-consuming, energy-draining, life force and spirit draining endeavor. The fact that he's done it as long as he has been as successful as he has is a testament to his willpower. But if you have family, if you have kids, if you have a job, if you have a house, if you have hobbies that's not wrestling, it makes it so much harder to promote a wrestling event properly, especially in the consistency that he has done. So it's probably that retirement is a well-deserved vacation. Nobody ever truly retires from wrestling, and I have a feeling after a year or two, AML will be back. But everybody needs to get away from wrestling for a while, because it is very, very draining to mind, body, and soul.
DK, do you want to add anything to that?
No. I mean, I think Jaden understands that idea completely. I mean, as to AML, the only advantage would be getting somebody else to take over the promotion and then have them as an affiliate. But there's no advantage to Billy doing that.
The thing that I kind of think about too is this. They've had such... Joe Kazana is a very special promoter, and I mean that in the most sincere and flattering way I can muster. I feel like Joe Kazana is more NWA at this point than the NWA itself. I know that he has an affinity for the brand, much like me, and he wants to see it succeed, much like me. The difference is he's actually puts his money where his mouth is and is running shows now a part of the NWA. I don't think you're going to find a lot of Joe Kazanas out there. I don't think there are a lot of people who are just willing to dump whatever ego that they have and check that at the door so that they can be a part of the NWA. Obviously, EC3 has a means to want to work with the NWA. He's the world champion. He can bring in more students. He can bring in more talent. He could do more seminars if he's working with the NWA. It makes a lot of sense for him. Plus, if the NWA, if he's succeeding in Exodus Pro, it's also benefiting the NWA. I get that, but that isn't the same for every situation. They've already had an event with Brian Idol and Natalia Markova's Florida FTW Wrestling, and they have not seemingly connected in a way that was going to work for Billy Corgan. And he they turned it into an angle, but at the end of the day, they're still not a territory because something there wasn't working for Billy. And I mean, he had Natalia Markova and Brian Idol on tour with him. It isn't because he doesn't like them. It's for some other reason he opted not to work with people that he trusted enough to take on the tour with him. That being said, and I see Matthew Underwood throwing out names like Arn Anderson or George South or Ricky Morton. Again, Joe Kazana is a very special promoter. The NWA isn't funding Joe Kazana. The NWA isn't cutting him a check every week to do shows. And Ricky Morton has the School of Morton in his own backyard. Why would he want to run up and down the Mid-Atlantic when he can work just where he is right now? George South, he's a wrestler. He isn't a promoter as far as I know. And, either one of you guys can smarten me up on that, but I don't think he
was. Him and Italian Stallion used to promote.
Okay.
He promoted for quite a long time during the Carolinas. But again, that's way different than being a wrestler. And that was during a time period where it was easier to be successful, even if it was harder to also be successful at the same time. But back in those days, you could draw a crowd of 1,000 and be considered a failure. So,
and then with that being said, Arn Anderson, I don't have any doubt that Arn Anderson or Ricky Morton or George South could book a good wrestling show. But you're also talking about guys who are a lot older, who probably are just as tired as Tracy, and probably looking for, not to get into the promoting of wrestling right now. And it's a very competitive market too. I mean, sure, AML has a stranglehold on the Carolinas, right? But there are other promotions out there. Hell, we just saw announced today that QT Marshall and the Nightmare Factory are starting up with Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling again, paying homage to Dusty. There's a new you could throw a rock anywhere in this country and hit a wrestling promotion. It's there's so much wrestling going on. Again, why would Arn Anderson want to do that when you could pay Arn Anderson to be on your show as opposed to Arn Anderson booking a show or running a show, right? Food for thought.
It's completely different. And a lot of these guys, they're probably thinking they're hurt, they're old, they're tired, and they're tired of working with fucking children.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a lot of older wrestlers have said very similar things, which is why you rarely ever see an older wrestler promote. Like, especially who's been somewhere. In my area right now, the only one who's really, I mean, there's the Monster Factory, but the only one who's really been somewhere, you know, a top tier wrestler is either Kevin Kelly, who's never really been a wrestler, he's been a commentator, worked for Ring of Honor, and there's Ricardo Rodriguez, both running out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's really, out of all the named talent, none of the named talent that live in the area run their own wrestling company. So and there's probably reasons for it.
Matthew Underwood says, I watched some dog the other day. I'm telling you, they're Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators gets wrestling as far as I'm concerned. If you want to just pop on a match and see some good wrestling, some fun wrestling, fun is my key word. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators gets it. They're part of our, they're featured on our channel. You could just click through and check their videos out. Some good
Hopefully
stuff.
you didn't watch any Dave Dahl matches.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Matthew Underwood and I don't always get along, but I don't even want that to happen to the poor guy.
That's fair. So with that being said, we know since we started talking a little bit about the NWA, might as well finish up with it. EC3 had to back out of 2 title defenses over the weekend. This is the second time since winning the championship back in August that he has had to miss some title matches. These ones, he cited an injury from the Ultimate Match of Death, that NWA's Paranoia. Jaden, in about 5 months, EC3 has defended the title 16 times. In about 8 months, Tyrus defended it like 5 times. Are you concerned about the NWA World Champion and maybe having a schedule that is too rigorous? Or do you think that this is just normal growing pains and it's something that, card subject to change?
I think he got into a match where it was stupid and never should have happened, and he got hurt doing it. And I think that's the problem. So if you don't want to get hurt, stop doing stupid. The chance of getting hurt in wrestling are very high anyway. Why expedite that chance by just doing stupid stuff that doesn't help you in any way and just makes the sport look like an embarrassment? But that said, AC3 is really the only one of the few bright spots, I think, with the NWA. And when I was watching OVW, one of the reasons I was watching it was because of the special, and also because D-Get Bundles was on there. But also I was watching it for the NWA World Heavyweight Champion EC3, and he was really good at entertaining on that. And I liked the way they were presenting him as a big deal. It made him feel, and the championship, feel like a really big deal, even if he rarely ever defended it there. But I just like the way they promoted. I think OVW, which does some sports entertainment bullshit too, but they are, they're at least an entertaining promotion and have a lot of wrestling. I think they do the NWA better than the NWA does. Maybe Billy should be asking Al Snow or whoever's doing the booking on there, which is Al Snow, to help out and give them fresh ideas, or maybe even not fresh ideas, maybe old school ideas.
DK, what do you think? What do you think about the world's heavyweight champion? He did reschedule one of the fights that will be making up in February. It's actually will be his first title defense in California. But our pal Timmy Gold, the Alliance Gold, missed out on seeing EC3 up in Canada. he missed out on his first title defense, and that one hasn't been rescheduled as of yet. Do you feel like it's the schedule? Do you feel like what Jaden said, that it was just a bad match and a bad idea, or something else?
Well, I don't know what the injury is.
Which they didn't state.
Yeah, and so I don't know how it happened. I do think it's not coincidental that the injury came in a garbage match. So, yeah, I'm probably more in line with Jaden on this one. Again, modern day people don't understand what working means, what working is. So, let's remind everybody. It's a work because you're working together to make it look real. And that's why wrestlers used to wrestle into their 60s without showing much wear and tear on their body, except for like their ears and stuff.
And the alcohol liver.
Yeah,
the
alcohol liver.
Necrotic liver, whatever you want to call
it. Because, they didn't take bumps the way they do today. And they don't, trash their bodies the way they do today. I mean, there are more injuries today than there were back when they were working 300 days a year.
In rings that were harder than concrete.
Yes. And so, and I think that might have been part of it. And so, yeah, who was it? Maybe it was Joey Ryan. I don't remember, back before the whole thing fell apart. But someone posted a video clip of Vader beating up some poor jobber in the corner, and they went on about how much better it is today to that people don't get abused and bullied like this. And boy, the guy responded. He goes, "It was great working with Vader. One of the easiest guys to work with. Not one of those shots hurt." Guess what? They worked together. They understood what they had to do. Today on live TV, you can watch wrestlers punch another wrestler in the head and see, because of the camera angle, that it's landing 2 inches from their head. And this happened just recently on a show. That it's landing 2 inches from their head and they're hitting the mat.
Yeah.
Go back and watch Steve Austin punch somebody in the head. Go watch Steve Austin punch Kevin Owens in the head from whatever WrestleMania they were in.
Yeah.
I mean, totally different.
You've heard the story that Ric Flair, in order to prepare for his wrestling career, literally hung a string and spent hours and hours and hours trying to make it look like he's going to murder that string without making it move. And that's something that I think in practice sounds like so awful and tedious, but in reality, I think would make wrestling and wrestlers a hell of a lot better.
One of the best punches ever was Steve Dr. Death Williams. If Steve Dr. Death Williams punched you as good as hard as he could, and to make it look like that, he would cripple you. And yeah, I know. Everybody's talking about, he got hurt in the brawl. Yeah, he blew out his knee. He was an immobile target, and he was, not in something that he was supposed to be doing. But yeah,
his thigh muscles.
Yeah, but that punch looks like he murders you. Absolutely, but it's one of the best punches, and everybody ever said it. It's like it never even touches you. Just the opposite of Bill Dundee, who people would rather Bill Dundee punch him full strength because it would be softer than his working punches. But still.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden, you trained as a wrestler, right?
Yeah, I couldn't punch. I couldn't. It's because of years of martial arts, because of boxing. I kept hitting people, and I got tired of getting receipts. So that's why I learned how to forearm, but I didn't forearm like they do nowadays. I did a really awesome looking forearm that looked like it hurt. And I don't do like the multiple little forearm shivers or anything like that. I just couldn't work a punch to save my life, and I got tired of getting hit back. First time's free. Second time, they hit you twice as hard.
But I'm just curious. You went to a training school?
Yeah, I trained with a couple of them.
Okay. So what did they teach about? Al Snow once said the fakest move in wrestling is a punch.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's ever seen any type of fight knows that's not what happens when you punch somebody. How did they teach punching in the schools you went to? This is just a curiosity question. I don't know about anybody else out there. I want to know.
If one of the schools I had a bag with a target, and what they would do is they would put a little bit of liquid into this little capsule or little thing. If you hit it and it broke, you hit it too hard. But it also had a little bit of like paint or something on it. So if you hit it just right, it would leave a mark. So you had to learn to hit it where you didn't break the little capsule, little whatever they used inside there, is a little gel cap, but also good enough that you left a marker with the little ink they had on it or paint so it can get on your hand. And that's how we learned how to do it. Many more times I broke that stupid little gel capsule. Way too many times. I could not work a punch for nothing. I used to always fight, and so I was learning how to punch as hard as I possibly can, and I never got the fact that I had to pull that punch. Could not do it. But other people did it very well. That's why I stopped punching.
I finally found the picture of Booker T
in the ring. Cool.
In the look at the flag on the mic that says United Wrestling Network. So
one of those rings is his WWE Hall of Fame ring. The other ring was actually given to him by Paul Bosch.
Huh.
He always see him with two rings. Well, actually, it was given to him by Paul Bosch's widow. But yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense without being too inflammatory. That makes a lot more sense. So I see some of the comments. Let's get to some of them. Noob says, Willie Bowen, I agree with you. Oh, well, let's read Willie's comment. Willie says, Coastal Championship Wrestling should be affiliated with the NWA Pro Wrestling. Now, there's a big difference between being affiliated and being a territory. I mean, they've done joint events already. I think you could kind of make the case that they are somewhat affiliated. But Noob agrees and says, I agree. As much as I follow Fight the World Wrestling, their production is bad, and recently they changed the venue and they only had one match announced. They have an event coming up literally in 3 days that's supposed to feature talents from the NWA. I'm not exactly sure if it's, the advertising makes it seem like it's a co-promoted event, but I don't know that it is.
There are times successfully that a wrestling promotion advertised the matches and what they were going to happen, and they use that to draw the card. There's also times where wrestling promotions just advertised the wrestlers were going to be there. Some promotions even did it multiple times, did both ways. Like for TV tapings, they would say the wrestlers that were going to be there and then have one dark match they would announce. As long as you are like in the promotion is give something out. They can draw by not promoting, but it's so much easier to give something that people want to see and put it out there so they know what's going to happen.
I always think of the whole, card subject to change. And, I'd rather be surprised by a matchup that I wasn't expecting than disappointed by a matchup that didn't happen at all, So I'm with you on that one, Jade. I think maybe it's better not to advertise all the matches anyways. But as it gets close to the 28th and there has been no match announced yet, I don't know what to tell you. Hopefully the fans aren't disappointed,
Do we know who's on the card?
No.
So it's just wrestlers from the NWA. So it could just be Markova and...
Yeah. Theoretically, yes. I thought I had it on here, and if I don't, I will get it. So they have Daisy Kills, Natalia Markova, Brian Idol on the poster, and then we see Eugene Nick Dinsmore also on the poster. But nothing.
Who's good with the glasses?
I don't know. I think he's an FTW guy. I don't know much about this event other than that.
Is that Brian Idol next to Markova?
Yes.
He's got a good look to him. Does he wrestle well?
No.
No.
You might remember him as Mikirio.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, he is unexplainedly the twin cousin. Yes, this is the NWA logic. The twin cousin of Mikirio. They've given us no information more than that.
Well,
I actually knew two cousins that were very identical, but they were also sisters.
I wouldn't judge anybody's wrestling by what happens in the NWA. We've certainly heard plenty of stories of, people who, well, like Kratos when he was first in there and everything, Paro and others. It was like, boy, they seem much better outside the NWA than they do inside.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point because, not that long ago, Chris Adonis was talking about he's happy to be places now that are using him correctly and know how to use them, and the good booker. And then there was the whole discussion with, was it AJ Kazana and Camille, or where?
About are you talking about the the VPN gate?
Yeah,
that was AJ Kazana.
And Camille makes it seem like that she isn't too happy with the way things were going with the NWA, and I know Aldis was not a fan and didn't leave quietly, and I don't think the Pope's a fan. Is that an issue? Is there really an issue going on with the NWA? Is the morale that low? I mean, some guys I'm sure is happy as hell, but is morale low in the NWA right now?
I guess it's who you ask, right? Because I'll say this about Camille, because I think very highly of her. When she announced her departure from the NWA, there was no drama, right? She said nothing negative on the way out. Unlike Aldis, who I think took every opportunity to pot shot the NWA, whether he was justified or not is kind of irrelevant. A company that gave him that opportunity after two other companies failed to do so. They literally rolled out the red carpet for him, sent him to China, allowed him to go to Australia. They did everything for him to make him a star, to make him legitimate, put him all in with Cody. That doesn't happen if he isn't carrying the 10 pounds of gold. So for when Aldis walked out, I kind of, and I'm a little bitter towards Aldis anyways, but on his way out, I feel like he should have just kept his mouth shut. Once he's gone, say what you will, but while he was under contract, bad-mouthing the company, I felt was very poor in taste and said a lot about who he is as a person. Now, Camille, almost the exact opposite. Camille had said nothing negative about the NWA on her way out. She did say things, though, from time to time, like she wasn't completely silent, and when she was unhappy with something, she would bring it up. Like, initially, her and Tom were supposed to be a part of the Australian tours. I don't know if you guys remember that, but the World is a Vampire Australia, they were both supposed to be there, and there was issues with the visas that the NWA was supposed to procure for them that prevented them from going. So there was she wasn't silent about that, and I feel like Camille will be very vocal about things that she's dissatisfied with. I know that she echoed a lot of people's comments about Tyrus on his way out the door as well. So Camille is not one to be silenced or to shy away from criticism, giving criticism, but I still feel like she did it in a much classier way than Nick did. And at this point, with her and AJ Kazana, the fact that she's advocating for the NWA fan, even though she's now no longer a NWA employee, I feel speaks volumes about her character, and knowing that the people who paid to watch her wrestle, ordered those pay-per-views, watched on YouTube, bought her merchandise, are the people that that matter. And that's part of the reason why I didn't really intend for us to talk about the whole VPN thing, but that's part of the reason why I'm really frustrated with the NWA as well. In a matter of about 60 days, 30 days, not only did we lose access to all the pay-per-views that we had paid for, right? Like every pay-per-view you ordered on Fight, you paid for that with the knowledge that you had unlimited replays. I spent hundreds of dollars on Fight for NWA content. I was part of the NWA All Access. I was paying for that. I lost every single piece of content that I thought I had unlimited replays for because the Fight and the NWA ended their relationship going forward. That sucks. But the international audience did the same thing. They paid for that content. And now the NWA is no longer going to be available on YouTube for them, and they cannot watch on CW. And the best that the leadership of the NWA can say, because look, William Patrick Corgan hasn't said a word, but now you have Joe Galley, somebody I actually like, and Kyle Davis, somebody I actually like, have this laissez-faire attitude about, well, just get a VPN. Like, that's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. And again, I don't expect them to have the answer. I don't expect them to say, well, yeah, we there's a deal. We got a deal. Look, I understand these things take time, but that's the way, not the way to approach it is just say to go get a VPN and double down on that from the wrestler who says, oh, well, internet security is important. Shut up, dude. Don't speak on issues that don't concern you. Joe Galley really took a poor misstep when he just shrugged it off and said, get a VPN. That's what you're going to tell an audience that paid for your content, who are okay with paying for your content? Shit, should we have just been stealing those pay-per-views? Would that have been okay with them?
Yes.
I mean, because it's basically the same thing. And for all the other nonsense that we've put up with from the NWA, I feel like this dismissive approach to the fan base is a huge critical error for them. Paul was on our show. Paul works for the NWA and had such a better diplomatic response to the whole topic. And even though the answer was still the same, hey, we don't have a solution. We don't have a timetable. At least he went through the effort of jumping through a hoop to make the fans at least feel like they were heard. When you say, go get a VPN, it's like you're totally dismissing somebody's issue. Tim spent thousands of dollars to get to the 75th anniversary show. He spent countless hours creating content for the NWA fans. And I get it, that's not directly contributing to the NWA success, but he's not getting paid for that, to put the NWA over. He's not getting paid to speak about the NWA and bring attention to it. Fiona also spent thousands of dollars to get here to witness the NWA. And for them just to I feel it's extremely disrespectful. And I
agree. I agree. I don't think the NWA honestly cares about its fans. I don't. I may be wrong, but I don't think Billy Corgan cares as much as in he cares about what his product is, and he cares less about the fans of it.
I would split that. I don't think Billy Corgan cares. I just honestly don't. I do think there are people in the NWA that care. How much?
Oh, yeah, okay. I associate Billy Corgan as the NWA, but yeah, there are other people who work for the NWA.
So how do you handle? Look, I can tell you with 98.7% accuracy what happened. The idea of being able to see it internationally was never a thought. We're making this deal. They're going to do it. Nobody thought, does CW have international, coverage? Nobody thought that.
I honestly, genuinely think that you're 100% right, that they didn't know that there would be a limitation until the NWA fans said, hey, we're international. We don't get to see the CW. And they're like, oh, shit. Call BN Sports. Let's see if we can get something worked out. I would be happy if they actually did that, but I don't think they thought of it. And you're right, DK, because The response has been so.
And I can even understand that. Look, there's an old saying, you don't know what you don't know. And so you're just negotiating. You're going to be on this app. You think, top 20 station in the stuff. Classic.
You know.
If you know, you know.
Exactly. They weren't thinking about it. And so then it kind of comes out. Then it's like, what do you do? Here's my problem. Is that no one's gotten to Corgan and had him release a statement like Paul's released or, said in his thing that says, "Dear international fans, through the course of the negotiation, it wasn't realized that, we were cutting off our international fans. We're currently looking to resolve it as best we can. It's going to take time." And then, and that's all the statement he'd say. And then that's when people on the streams and stuff like that wink and go, well, if you're into internet security, try a VPN. And look, I have one. I'm running one right now on my computer. I run one on the same one on my phone. I run it on my other computer. So, I have them. And I have watched shows in the UK that were for, British only, and things like that. So, legal, not legal. I'm supposed to, I lied to somebody and told them I had a TV license in the UK. And, it is an option, but I think the way it's coming across.
Scooby stole my idea.
Well, I think the way it's coming across is that it's just it's flippant. The NWA comes across as flippant. Everyone except for Paul, who's been like the most sincere, person about it, and he's not even responsible for it. And yeah, the obvious answer at first would be leave it on YouTube, but not make it not available to the US. I don't know how you do it, but I know it's possible.
Yeah, because there's a lot of programs, things I want to watch that they're not available in this country. It says so right on the YouTube app.
Right. And so I would think something like that. But my guess is the way the deal was written is that it was basically exclusive. CW had exclusive right. And so I would also dare to bet this has to be renegotiated.
Jay, you're quiet.
The thing about it is it's not like there isn't another model currently on the CW app that would have given you exactly how you could have approached this. Currently another wrestling promotion is on the CW app, Women of Wrestling. Women of Wrestling airs on the CW network in some markets. In other markets, it's on other different networks. But it's also featured on their app. And get this, guys, it's so crazy. The content is also available on YouTube. Why is it that CW has a better deal than the rock star millionaire? I know Jeannie Buss is a very smart businesswoman. She's the owner of the Lakers and all that great stuff. But the model was already in play. Why couldn't the NWA work out a deal similar to what Jeannie Buss and the Women of Wrestling got? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, you want the answer?
Yeah.
I'll bet you dollars to donuts. The NWA is getting a lot more dinero than WOW is.
I hope you're right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's all dollars and cents. And unfortunately, that is kind of the world we live in. The loyalty to the brand doesn't get you a damn thing. However, the pursuit of being profitable, the pursuit of growing the brand, this is legitimately one step forward, two steps back. I said that backwards. This is a good move for the NWA. It's a great move to be on CW. it's a bad move that it's going to affect a large part of the fan base. And I know, DK, you said, like, well, do we really know how big of that fan base is? And they know by looking on YouTube and their analytic data,
Right.
they know who that is who it's affecting. But the move to go to the CW is going to help them grow way faster than being on YouTube. The problem is not having something, a catch-all in play to bring those international fans along as well.
Yeah, and again, I just don't think it was thought about by anybody. I mean, I don't think it was thought about by CW. I don't think it was thought about by the NWA. I just don't think it was thought about. And
for all those NWA fans, though, I do want to let them know the dog is free and on YouTube. And if you're tired of watching Cocaine Gate and VPN Gate and Stargate and Watergate and
Match
I don't know.
Gate.
Yes. Tyrus Gate. Watch Dog Pro Wrestling and just I'm sorry about the Daredevil Dave Dog matches.
Or
we all
or if you like Lucha Libre, go to Veamos Lucha Libre and you can see matches direct from Mexico.
All right, so this brings up a couple things that can go in a few different directions. So let me bring up two things, and we can talk about whichever one we want to talk about.
I think I know which one the first one is, and let's go towards that one because it connects to streaming.
Okay, so that's actually the second one. Okay, so the first one is, of course, WWE's deal with Netflix, and please let me finish through some things here before everyone jumps in and gives their opinion. So they're going to streaming. They're going to Netflix. Possibly the best thing that happened to the NWA. But let's look at some of the criticisms that we could throw out, like people are throwing out with the NWA. Okay, it's now behind a paywall.
Yeah.
I have to pay extra to see it. I don't know how much extra, but I have to pay extra. I will no longer get any stats on how many people have seen it, what the key demo is. I will get to watch it whenever I want. Supposedly it's going to still be live because that's what they're pushing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have noticed they didn't call it Monday Night Raw. They just called it Raw. And so who knows what night it's going to be on? Who knows how they're going to do it? That hasn't been released. And, look, they got a year and something to go. So depending on who you listen to, it's supposedly somewhere between 5 to 10 to 20-year deal. And so we got the streaming, but this goes back to what I was asking. How do you measure success? Well, the TKO is measuring success by the amount of money they're going to make.
Yes.
And TKO does not care that it's going behind a paywall. They do not care that people are going to have to pay extra to see it now. And hopefully at some point they'll probably move all their stuff to Netflix like they're going to do internationally in a couple of years whenever their Peacock agreement runs out. But so that's one angle to look at. Okay, now I have another angle that kind of goes back a little bit with the
real quick. May I add something to your statement?
Sure.
USA Network isn't free. If you have to pay for cable to get it. It's still technically behind a paywall.
Yeah, it is, but not in the same way. I don't have to pay specifically for USA Network.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Just going on the WWE website, when you go for the list of its shows, it indicates that the show on Monday nights is just called WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, NXT, NXT Level Up. There is no I know if you go to the USA website and type in, wrestling, it will say Monday Night Raw. But I believe the WWE has only referred to that show as Raw for a while now. I don't think this is just after the announcement. I could be mistaken.
I mean, you're probably right. I'm not going to argue with you, but there are people that have taken significance in it who know more about it than me. And so the next thing, this is from an NWA thing, and this goes back to what we're talking about, wrestlers and morale and all that stuff. One of the things that's been very obvious from the time the NWA first came in is that they have a guy. And this guy is going to be their top guy. And he's probably going to be their top guy for a while. We had Nick Aldis. I think we had Tyrus. And trust me, I think if Tyrus hadn't started having health issues, he might still be champion. And now we have, maybe Cardona was in the plan at one time. I don't know. But it's very obvious now that we have EC3. And so a question that goes to that is, does this make it more difficult because we kind of know kind of like Ric Flair in the 80s, by the time 85 came, even if Ric Flair lost the title, you were just expecting him to win it back within, a few weeks, if not days. Is this a positive? Is this a negative? You get somebody like Chris Adonis in, and it's like, he's probably never going to be a champion, or at least not a long-term champion, because he's not the guy. And you guys, either one of those things. I'm curious as to people's thoughts on that.
Well, okay. So let's go with the announcement that there will be exclusive to Netflix. And to your credit, I see what you're saying, that, hey, I was already paying for cable. I didn't have to pay. I don't have to pay for Netflix. But now with this deal, I have to pay for Netflix. I think for me, as someone who pays for Netflix and one of these guys that should be canceling my Netflix, this kind of gives me a reason to stick around. I like watching Cobra Kai on Netflix. My wife and I enjoyed the first few seasons of You that were on Netflix. There's a few other programs that I've enjoyed on Netflix in the past. Of course, they had the Daredevil and the whole MCU stuff, like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. All that stuff was great, and I loved it. I
got one more thing to throw in. I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you, but you can go from there. But I do want to throw this in. Let's also remember that as recently as a year ago, how long Netflix was going to last was debated. Yeah. So we can talk about 5-year, 10-year, and 20-year deals. A lot of streaming services are unstable because I can't pay for every streaming service. I mean, you said it, maybe, Netflix is one of the ones I was looking at dropping, and probably still will. And, I just won't see Raw anymore. So factor that into your thing. Is there a risk with, how stable is Netflix? Because they're paying out this money.
Yeah.
Will it bring enough money back in to pay for itself?
I think, and again, we're speculating, right? Like, I don't have answers, but a lot of the success that was attributed to the WWE, to the Peacock rollout was the deal that brought the WWE Network to Peacock. Now, again, that was different because that included the entire back catalog of World Wrestling Entertainment, World Championship Wrestling, AWA, ECW, and countless other territories that they brought in. It also meant that every single pay-per-view premium live event would now be available to the people on Peacock. And when they did that rollout, man, that carried Peacock. And right now, I'll be honest, I have Peacock. And you know what I watch on Peacock? The Office, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and whatever Trolls movie is out right now, because that's what my kids throw on there. And if it wasn't for one of those three things, I probably would cancel that as well. So I feel like this is a win now move for Netflix. And again, it keeps people from binge watching and dropping, right? Like, okay, well, with the Cobra Kai, you go and watch all 12 episodes or 8 episodes, whatever it is, then you cancel your subscription until something else fancies you and you jump back on. For the people who love Monday Night Raw, whatever, they're going to subscribe for whatever the cost is for Netflix. They're going to subscribe for the WWE content, and they're going to stick around for Cobra Kai, for Stranger Things, for whatever flavor of the month that's coming on Netflix. And I think that's going.
I'm about to say, I'm not on Netflix.
Okay.
You keep saying you.
Sorry. I get it. You're hilarious.
You's on first, right?
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is I think this is a great move for the WWE, because now when you look at it, right? Okay. So they have their streaming service, and to what Jaden was saying, what DKM was saying is that currently, just even a few years ago, maybe even a few months ago, the health of Netflix was in jeopardy. Some people had expected that maybe Apple might buy Netflix. Some people suggested that Amazon might buy Netflix. Whatever gave them the ability to go all in on this WWE deal, at the very least, they expect to have some sort of level of success with this acquisition. Now, could they go out of business? Sure. When they go out of business, then that would allow the WWE to renegotiate their TV rights Raw with just about anybody. With that being said, when their rights come up with USA, NBC, Universal, what's preventing them at that point to move what was the WWE network to a place like Netflix and solidify that relationship? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is the WWE with this move in 2025 will be on not only on a streaming platform via Netflix, it will also be on cable television with SmackDown moving to USA, and they'll still be on network TV because at that point, the CW deal with NXT will be going on. So they quite literally have 3 brands on 3 separate mediums of receiving content. And I think that's a very, very smart move. And now, if the success of Netflix is in jeopardy, well, then, they still have what they're doing with CW. They still have what they're doing with, Peacock.
To talk about the industry, I think the solvency of Netflix was improved because they picked up a couple of sports rights. I think one was Formula One racing.
Yes.
And I forget what the other one is. Is it like English League Soccer or something else? I forget. But they picked up a couple of sports. And right now, the NHL, the NBA, and even baseball are having a lot of problems getting their sports and their games out there because a lot of those local markets are owned by Bally's or sports channels or other forums out there. They're losing money left and right, and they may either take them off or shut down completely. And I know some of those stations and programs are going to be broadcast locally on, I think it was Amazon. Yeah, locally on Amazon. So you still have to live in that area, but you still have to get Amazon to do so. And I think that is one of the things they're doing right now with Netflix is they picked up a lot of international viewers and a lot of people for Formula One racing and for other sports that they've picked up. And I think that's going to be something right now. They see the WWE as a way to do something to get ahead of the curve to get themselves on there to keep themselves solvent, because that's already paid dividends for them, and this may continue to do so.
On top of that, the Netflix deal also is connected to the international market, where the WWE network was previously seen. The WWE network was not region coded, so you could watch the network anywhere. But when it came on to Peacock, it became a North American distributed content only. So now with the Netflix deal, Raw will be broadcasted in the US on Netflix, but internationally, the WWE content now has Netflix as its distributor. And maybe you guys don't know this if you've never been out of the country. I've traveled to Mexico and to Jamaica in the last 5 years, and Netflix is on there. And when you go to another country like Jamaica, they had all the Star Wars movies on Netflix, because at that point in time, there was no other place to see it on a streaming service. So Netflix has those rights internationally, whereas like in the United States, and this predates Disney Plus, but at that point there was no place to see it. You can't watch Star Wars on Disney Plus. Let me say that again. Sorry. You cannot watch Star Wars on Netflix in the United States, but for a point in time, you could internationally watch it on Netflix.
If you get a VPN, you can watch a lot of programs everywhere. I'm sorry.
I'm just waiting for someone to come in the chat. You son of a bitch.
I had to. You don't need a VPN to watch Dog on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Our pal James H. Jackson, who literally is got his finger on the pulse of technology in pro wrestling, points out that Netflix hits fourth quarter subscriber record, fueled by The Crown and The Killer by Dawn. I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. And I think that might have been a tweet. Then he also said the deal is reportedly valued at more than $5 billion, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Netflix subscribers in the US, Canada, the UK, and Latin America will have access to the shows. So there you go.
And then, Netflix has done a lot too. It never would have, and it never, ever at one time would have thought a Netflix show would be an Emmy Award-winning show.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too. And like Poyo kind of made this point that, and I'm like this too. I don't have cable, and I haven't had cable for several years. Now, with that being said, I'm on the back end. I pay for Disney Plus. I've paid for Hulu. I pay for Max. Not Max. Yeah, HBO Max. I pay for Disney Plus. I pay for Peacock. I pay for Netflix, and my wife pays for Paramount. So we have just about all the content providers now.
I pay more than cable, probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to the same, actually. Now, with Disney Plus, it's bundled with ESPN and Hulu. I don't even have ESPN connected to my TV. I don't watch any ESPN. I don't watch anything else but whatever my kids want to watch in Disney Plus occasionally. So, as it stands, I don't. Probably would be cheaper to go with cable. And at one point, I even had a YouTube TV, and then the prices started getting too high for my liking, and they stopped carrying the former Sinclair Bally Sport channel, so I opted to get out of that deal. But it's a brave new world as it comes to content distribution. If you listen to what's being reported, if you read the things that James H. Jackson is reporting on, the market for cable is shrinking. It is not gone. It is not going away. But with this move, the WWE has diversified. It is now on network television. You don't need an antenna to watch NXT come September. You can watch NXT on TV without any kind of subscription, without paying for anything. It's just on your TV, your high def TV. As far as, you want the premium package, if you have cable, SmackDown will still be on USA, just like Raw was. So you still have that option. And then, of course, having Netflix broadcasting Raw, now it's a third option. And each one of these is a diversified company. Whereas right now, the premium live events are only available on Peacock, at least in the United States. The premier live events are only available on Peacock. Raw will be available on Netflix. SmackDown will be available on USA, and NXT will be available on CW. And the only, redundancy is Universal owns both NBC and Peacock. So, with the fact that SmackDown and the premium live events are still owned kind of by the same company, the rights are owned by the same company. I mean, it's pretty diverse. I think that's another very interesting point to all this. And, what I find very compelling, Jaden, like you mentioned, now that a lot of other sporting franchises are looking to find new ways of content distribution. I know the NBA deal is coming up. What if Netflix were able to secure that, or a company like Amazon, or, Peacock, or, Paramount, or what I mean? Like it will be very interesting to see how this plays out, because again, if the WWE seemingly is the first big sports company to do this, but I don't think they're going to be the last.
No, I don't think so either. I think it is going to be, there's always going to be free TV.
Yeah.
But I think TV definitely has to go. Unfortunately, it's not where everybody thinks it is now. And I think the worst thing that happened is everybody saw success of Netflix and tried to copy it.
Yeah.
And that's why we have 10 billion different stations now putting out their stuff. But a lot of these stations, including I think even Netflix, are going to have a advertising supported window too.
Yeah.
So you could always choose that route if you don't want to have to pay for it. I just hate commercials, which is really annoys me about Hulu, because they're still damn commercials.
Yeah, that's one of the Peacock's the same. Depending on
but I don't watch the Peacock, so
depending on what tier you get, depends on how much in. I believe they're doing the same thing with Netflix, because basically I've heard that, again, rumors, these aren't anything that's been officially released, but like Raw will be a show that will have commercials, but whether you see the commercials will depend on the tier you're at. And it's like at the highest tier, they don't break away from the middle of the match to see a commercial. Look, everything's about making money, and so they got to find a way to bring people in and then upsell. And so there is going to be advertisement support. There will be but you can still see it on other channels, not just Amazon Prime. And that's where the trick, when something becomes so exclusive, is that where you don't have 5 different options on where to watch it. Like right now, if you want to watch Disney princess movies, you have to have Disney Plus, or you can buy the movies on Amazon. And you go, why would you want to buy the movie? Well, because sometimes movies get taken off different places. And
I checked, because of NWA. I checked my Amazon, make sure all the things I have in there are still there, and I do. Yeah. Even that one episode of, even though I can't watch it, I do know it's still technically, I guess, there. That one episode of Ring Warriors. It says it's there. I just can't access it for some reason.
Yeah, same.
But I didn't pay for it, so that's all right.
There's also the thing with digital media. When you purchase digital media, a lot of the companies work together. So like if I open up my Microsoft library on my PC, like I have all of my digital purchases there. If I go to, it used to be Google Play, but I think now it's just YouTube. All of my digital purchases are there. If I have Apple TV, all my digital purchases are there. If I go to Vudu or Amazon, all of my digital content is there. And that's really helpful, but you have to take some extra steps to do that. but I think that's kind of cool.
One of the things sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I am done. Go ahead.
One of the things I'm learning in business class is for a long time, buy online, pick up in store. Ship from store, whatever you want to call it, where you buy something and they send you something every single month, some kind of subscription service. That was huge, and the pandemic made it even huger. I know that's not a word. But now, top 100 companies put together a research to find out if they're actually making more money or not. And I don't have the stats in front of me at the moment, but a large percentage of the people who had the buy services where they get things monthly subscription for some kind of a product or something like that, they do not seem to have as much of it when they buy it from a third party system from a first party. I'll use GNC as an example. They have something called routines. You set up a routine on a product and you get it to you every month, and they give you they give you rewards to continuously get it for you. But a lot of those routines, they did a research where people who had the routines, that were regular customers, they spent less on that routine. And that's not even counting the 10% discount, because they're not going in the store. There's a large percentage of money that's lost. And out of those people who had that routine, a large percentage of the people stopped having it after 6 months or less. And then out of those people that had canceled in 6 months or less, more than about half of them started buying it on Amazon. So a lot of that routine did was just basically get somebody to cancel it and buy it on Amazon because it's a better service. It's a better service. And the ones that even buy it from Amazon, very few of them even have it sent monthly. They just end up buying it on Amazon because they know how quickly they can get it.
And
so
it's really easy to have Amazon very similarly just re-up your order. All you have to do is just program it, and it'll do it every month too.
So companies have found that those top 100 retail companies have lost hundreds of millions of dollars for this thing that they thought was going to be their big savior, but yet they still push it. A lot of those companies read that report and completely ignored it and still pushed it. That's where they need to possibly show that you need that personal one-on-one service. So I wonder now, with the way things are going, if there's going to be a revolution and people get tired of doing that service and they go to, somewhere else to do it, or buy it a la carte, or just how that's going to affect that too. Because technology is fine, but it always evolves. And the problem is it's never a fail safe. It's never foolproof. It's right. At one time, tape decks were the coolest thing, and everybody thought that was going to be records. Now they're making a resurgence, but records was the best way to buy music, and then it was tapes, and it was CDs. Now it's digital media, and who knows what it's going to be in the future. You might have it implanted into your brain. You can listen to a song whenever you want, but there's never a fail-safe out there. What was that, DK?
Pretty sure that already happens. They just call it an earworm.
Yeah, well, that happens a lot to me too, but nothing's unfortunately. Yes, repeal their Telecom app.
Hey, there's one thing you and Matt agree upon. Amazing.
He's posted every week. No, honestly, though, the Telecom Act is definitely has been bad for the industry, but no, good for the industry, bad for the consumer.
You just never know how anybody's going to react to anything. So it was like, couldn't wait for grocery stores to deliver. And I know a lot of people that they take advantage. They get the delivery, or they at least do the curbside pickup or whatever. And it's like, I'm old. I don't get out of the house much. I need to get out. Like, is grocery shopping fun? No. But at least I'm out of the house and, occasionally run into people, and all that stuff. And it's just, you never know what, and like Jaden was saying,
I wasn't sure if you're talking about me or Jaden.
Yeah, no, Jaden. Like Jaden was saying, vinyl records are back. can we be honest? Outside of tape, vinyl records are the worst thing to listen to music on. They scratch, they get staticky after a while. You wear them out, but there's a nostalgic and a feel good and a warmth to them.
The hiss.
Exactly. And so,
I'm building my collection on vinyl right now. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you want to listen to music, a digital's better, clearer, whatever. But there's an ambiance, there's a feeling that you can't get unless you're playing it on vinyl. At least tapes haven't come back because tapes were worse than vinyl.
I don't know, man. You can't. I thought for sure tapes were going to come back after we saw Guardians of the Galaxy and you had the romantic look at a Walkman. I was like, Walkman sucked, man. I don't know why everyone loved that. What was worse was the Discman because
the Discman, which really sucked.
Oh man, I remember having one of those, thinking I was the coolest dude on the world, and getting ready for wrestling, and I'd have it and I'd listen to it. And they're like, okay, we're gonna run, and forget that. Your CD now looks like a disco ball. It's all scratched up.
No, I had one of those little radio tape players that was, like Yo Big, about, barely fit the tape in it, but you could still look up things, you could still record like off the radio and stuff like that. Yeah. That's when I learned about stereo and how recording it with that device, even from stereo radio. No, it didn't come out stereo on the tape. It's like, whoops. Although I did learn how to make sound effects, with it by moving the tape thing around while it played.
I own 2 vinyls right now. I have the Cats original vinyl from Cats.
I'm sorry.
The original one, the one from the actual Broadway play.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the first wrestling album that WWF put out.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
That one's just more for the collector, obviously. Actually, the Cats one's real valuable. But I just, I have that. I found it randomly ironically, I found it at a CD place. Randomly, I found this thing. I'm like, oh, I have to buy this. $22. Okay. I was doing it. It was a CD store where they still had a very, very small selection of cassette tapes, but everything else was about CD. What the hell, Jay?
What'd you do, Jay?
Nothing. I did nothing.
Uh-huh.
No, I just went and got all my records, like Pearl Jam.
You know what you need, Jay? You need 2 turntables and a microphone.
I have the microphone, and I do have 2 turntables. Chris Stapleton, Garth Brooks, the White Stripes, another Pearl Jam I haven't opened up yet, Mad Season, Alice in Chains, haven't opened that one yet. The Black Pumas, that's some good stuff right there. Van Halen, Lana Del Rey, Jimi Hendrix. We would never heard of Houndsmouth. Amy Winehouse. You don't know who Katie Tupin is. And Stone Free. That's a tribute to Jimi Hendrix. I literally bought it for one song.
I've heard of Stone Cold.
So yeah, I like vinyl.
We need the best of Dr. Skeets and the Shrimp Shack Shooters.
Oh my God. I wish I could get a copy of that.
Do you have anything that Dr. Demento played?
I do.
I do not.
I have 7 Dr. Demento CDs. And I can't tell you how many Weird Al Yankovic CDs. Everything up until Running with Scissors, at least.
To Matthew Underwood asked, was that Pearl Jam Yield? No, it was not Yield. It was Rearview Mirror, which was like a best of, and then the first album, Versus. And then the Garth Brooks album was like, I think it's No Fences. I haven't even opened it yet. I bought that one for my wife, and she didn't care.
I used to have a whole bunch of Star Wars that had a read-along book, and they would read along with voices and sound effects on records.
When I was about 5 years old, I had a little portable Michael Jackson record player, and I had like a few little kid songs. And my half brother, who I hardly ever saw, it was my birthday, and he showed up and he handed me David Lee Roth's. Maybe it was Van Halen. I don't know. Too Hot, Hot for Teacher. And I was like 5 or 6 years old. I'm like, I think I love this music. Our pal Rodswell says, I'm a controller DJ, all digital, but vinyl hits different. Yeah, I mean, I love, like, I get it. We're a wrestling podcast, and we just spent the last 5 minutes talking about the joy of digital versus analog. Okay, whatever. But I don't know, man. I love listening to music on vinyl. It's the nostalgia, like DK said. It's the hiss, the sound. I don't know, but I feel good when I hear it.
Take them out of those vinyl sleeves and get good, real protective sleeves.
Yeah, I should. I haven't done that yet. This is only from like the last 2 years.
I don't know. Why are you asking us?
Jesus. Speaking of monsters, so y'all heard about what Vince McMahon did and was and always has been. I mean, this isn't really late breaking news.
Who? What?
The allegations of what Vince McMahon reportedly did to that poor woman. Again, allegations are allegations, but if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, are you surprised that it's a duck?
Where's Matthew Underwood going? Oh, but until it's proven, he should be protected. And
right?
Look, it's without getting into the nitty gritty of stuff. It's time for Vince to go.
I saw somewhere online, and I don't echo the same sentiment, but somebody's like, he really should just kill himself. And they didn't say who, but you kind of feel like you were talking about Vince. And I don't wish death upon anybody, but I don't wish Vince to have a happy life, if that makes sense. If the allegations are true, it's really, really bad. It's really bad. I
was going to say, if they're half true, it's not good.
No.
Look,
but it's also like, is anyone shocked by this?
Actually, no, I don't think. I have a feeling TKO isn't, because all of a sudden, The Rock gets announced as part of their board of directors, but just before another allegation comes out, and one of the main reasons that the TKO stock was given a non-buy was because of Vince McMahon.
Do you think Rock will end up in the Vince McMahon role?
Yes. I feel like he's going to be the face of corporate WWE.
Of the wrestling side.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay.
He's got the UFL.
Yeah.
He's got Zoa. He's got his tequila brand. Is it tequila? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's different than being on the board of directors. Being multiple people are part of the board of directors for they have one company be part of one board of director, and that company owners on that board of director, and they go all around and be all part of the board of directors.
Well,
it's more of a gentleman's club more than
let
sometimes.
Let me clarify what I was saying. I'm not expecting him. Vince actually does very little now. In fact, they were saying when they weren't sure what he was going to do once all these agreements fell into place. And I'm not saying that he's going to be the executive chairman of the WWE board or whatever you want to call it. I think he's going to be the face of the wrestling side, in that when you need to talk about wrestling and you want a wrestling person there as opposed to whichever con is in charge of the president,
Nick.
that
The smart con.
right that The Rock will be the one who's on the morning news shows and
he is a smart con. Don't call him. He may not always agree some of the things. That guy is a smart con. Go with the other one is the one I'm talking about.
Well, I
The
like
not
using
smart
the
con.
first one because it says I made a huge mistake by giving my son all this money to run wrestling shows.
It was his inheritance anyway. He was going to do something with it anyway.
Yeah, but he could have died first, like he could have.
Oh,
he didn't have to be alive to see this,
Well, with Tony Khan's the son, he's probably dying a little bit every day.
He said he wanted to, that he was giving the kids the money so that he could watch them blow it while he was alive.
There you go.
But anyway, yes, my thing is that no, he's not going to be involved in the business so much, but just that he's going to be the one that makes the rounds as the wrestling guy.
100% agree with you. Jeremy says it as well, and the key thing is there, but right now Hollywood Rock is not successful, so Wrestling Rock is back. And if you think about it, the Rock, it's not talked about a lot right at this moment, but he tried to kind of like
strong arm
commit a coup during the DC universe that actually led to the whole thing getting blown up. The Rock was casted to be Black Adam. It's a character that he specifically wanted to play as, and he tried to muscle his way, leverage his way, and he did have up until that point, he had a series of successful movies under his belt where he kind of was able to dictate what he would and what he would not do, and when he kind of forced himself he made it very clear that he would not be appearing in Shazam, that he did not want his character involved with that storyline, and basically even said, like, I don't fight B-list actors or something like that, B-list stars or something. Like, he really kind of undid the whole DC universe.
Right. Black Adam was supposed to be in Shazam too. That was the original idea. And then they cast him, and then after they cast him, he wanted to be his own movie. And then he was the one that was big on making sure that Superman made an appearance, the Harry Cavill Superman and everything like that. And that was already going down there. He kind of got a little bit big for his britches.
Yes.
And then the movie bombed. And
yes.
When you get big for your britches, you can't have a movie bomb.
And the thing about it is, if he wasn't the direct cause, he was at least the catalyst that caused that entire franchise, the whole IP to blow up, that so much that they went and got the director from the Marvel universe and said, here, you do it. You make this universe for us because we don't know what the frick we're doing. And I find that so interesting. So yeah, The Rock took a huge loss there. XFL didn't pan out as well as he was hoping it would. It still did decent numbers, enough for them to keep it around, but it paled in comparison as to what they were expecting. They merged the XFL with the UFL, and now we have that separate league. So yeah, is The Rock still making money? Yes. Does The Rock still have value? Absolutely. But I feel like he is not the same person he was before this failure. And by going back to the WWE, I'm almost 100% confident now that he will be main eventing WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. But besides that, taking this role allows him to be the face of the company, the wrestling portion of the company. So when they start talking about WrestleMania or when they talk about SummerSlam, he'll be the guy going on Jim Cramer on MSN Financial, whatever that channel is. He'll be the one talking about the business as opposed to Nick Khan, who no one has any real connection to. And it will really kind of soften the WWE's image, especially after all these allegations about Vince McMahon. The last thing they want you to think about when it comes to the WWE is Vince going forward.
And one more thing when it comes to the football league. After XFL and and
Yeah.
became UFL or whatever. He's not the majority running partner anymore. The guy that's from the USFL, he's the one that actually owns the majority and runs the business. So I'm sure he's still involved, but probably not like he was.
No.
And so
I'm sure he's still getting a paycheck.
Oh yeah, and he'll still go out and promote it and everything like that. But yeah, right now I don't know how much he's actually doing that's not acting. I don't know how much business he's actually running. I'm sure he doesn't run his, tequila or whatever.
Yeah.
Thing. Something like that. You bring in experts to run.
Could you imagine The Rock picking agave out of the plant and learning how to ferment it and genuinely making the tequila? Come on, man, that's not happening.
Well, but I mean, even just the business side of it.
Sure.
The deals that you need to make and things like that. You got to have the right experienced people in place to do stuff like that. And so
that's any business, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, otherwise you end up with Billy in the NWA and Tony in AEW. So,
okay, what would the world have looked like if Tony would have been like, "Hey, you know what, Ring of Honor? Now that you're out of business, I'm going to buy everyone here. I'm going to buy this company, not to run a secondary brand, but to bring you all on board on the AEW side and help me figure out how to make this a successful company." Because for the most part, what held Ring of Honor back was it was never meant to be a success story. It was meant to just be a page holder, really, for wrestling content. Sinclair initially wanted the NWA. Ring of Honor was just to take that spot that they wanted to give to the NWA. And the property was never built to grow. It was just built to exist. Could you imagine if the brain trust that had put Ring of Honor onto Sinclair initially were to be working with Tony at this point and building the brand AEW in a way similar to how they built Ring of Honor, but with a lot more capital behind it?
Yeah, but that's not what he wants. Tony and Billy, both of them,
and Dixie, we'll throw Dixie in there too.
Peas of a pod.
These are people who they want to be. I've said it millions of times already, but we'll say it again. They don't want to be successful. They want what they do to be successful.
That's fair.
Billy's not out there trying to run a successful wrestling company, or he wouldn't be the one running it on the booking and the everything else. He would have others doing it. People more experienced and know more. Same thing with Tony. But
regular, like small and great and onions.
Hold on a second. Excuse me, guys.
All right.
If Tony really was smart, not Tony, I'm sorry, Billy was smart. And Billy is smart. I'm not going to say he's not. The problem is he's trying to run the wrestling company like he does his music company. And I think just like he pisses off half his musicians, he's pissing off half his wrestlers. But Kevin Sullivan, the guy who used to be the Impact producer and was the AEW producer for almost its entire existence.
And the husband of Nancy Sullivan.
No. And definitely no. I
did that for DKM's reaction right there. That's why I did it. The Taskmaster.
They should have him produce the television show because he at least knows how to produce a television show.
Right. And,
sorry.
No, I'm sorry. But, again, with my point is that they want to do... And let's be honest. Was Billy a successful musician?
Yes.
Well, by a lot of measures, yes. But was he a massively successful?
Yes. No, he was massively successful.
Do you put Billy and the Smashing Pumpkins in the same group as the Beatles? Do you put them in the same thing as the Who, the Rolling Stones, and maybe an American band that went up there?
Give me a modern band that has that same comparison. You're talking about bands from the 60s? Of course.
Okay, but none, but I argue that they don't want them. Go look back into the 80s, and you'll see that the 80s was the last year that we had real large superstar singers independent of a record company who wasn't married to the president of a recording company. Kind of like with wrestling music, they don't like the superstars because then they get too powerful and they don't want to do what we tell them to do. And so no, we don't. But when did Billy start? I don't remember. What?
The 90s is really when I knew of Smashing Pumpkins, which, by the way, I was never really a fan. I somewhat liked Nick Cage, and that's really about it. I like his new stuff better.
When they formed.
And neither was I. But that being, I couldn't tell you one song that's in the top 100 today. Because I don't listen to
Taylor Swift.
Because I don't listen to anything from today.
I don't know, just something Taylor Swift. I'm going with the odds.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I don't know.
She'll win a Super Bowl too.
Exactly, and so I don't know that. And by the way, I've asked this of other people before who do know something about the music industry.
That's the only one I really know of too.
And
what about Zero?
I don't know.
Are you on Wikipedia right now?
I'm looking. No, well, that's the first one that came to my head.
What is Not Zero?
That's one of their albums.
Whose albums?
Smashing Pumpkins albums.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We've kind of talked about other instances. But I was never a fan, so I wouldn't know any album of theirs. I couldn't tell you what any number one song they've had.
I could tell you every song probably of Guns N' Roses.
I probably could.
I could tell you a lot of Pearl Jam, or I could tell you
I could tell you a lot of Nirvana.
Nirvana, yeah.
Now there's a little bit of cheating because not only did I like Nirvana when I was younger and it was coming out, one of my boys listens to Nirvana, so I still get to hear a lot of it.
So Siamese Dream sold 4 million copies. Melancholy and Infinite Sadness sold almost the same number of copies. Adore sold only 1 million copies. Machina, the Machines of God, sold not even half as many. Zeitgeist didn't sell as many. Oceana did not sell hardly any. And then there are no official numbers for the other remaining albums.
And so, and I don't know what that was in comparison to what sold during those days. Whatever year the first album came out, what were the top selling albums? Where does it rank in that? And, Jeremy said something, Smashing Pumpkins wasn't as successful as Billy would have you believe. The only popular album was the Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
And the Infinite Sadness, yeah.
Yeah, and, it means nothing to me. So
that's what I call the NWA booking right now, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
That is true.
Bazinga!
That is very true.
Also, though, I have to say, Billy Corgan is bigger than the Smashing Pumpkins. He, by his unique look and his style, has transcended his music, I think. Hell, he was on the Muppets. I watched the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem special on the Muppets, which I highly recommend. I actually enjoyed that. The first true Muppet thing, I think, felt Muppety since the Disney bought it, and that includes the Muppets movie that they had, the big one they put out.
So James says the record is there to promote tours, though, and that's where some money is, or the money is. And I'm not going to agree with you or disagree with you because I don't know. But then I'll turn around and tell you, other than bringing some of the NWA wrestlers along with him on a tour in Australia, and he did one in Mexico, and despite his tour, he only did 4 in the U.S.
Yeah, like 3.
Yeah, and so I mean, he hasn't shown me any success in producing touring wrestling.
No, and that's one of the things.
And then last but not least, wrestling and music are different things. That you can be good at one has nothing. I can make good pizza, and I can make good pizza anywhere. But do you know what I suck at? Steaks. I can't cook a steak to save my life, and I love steaks.
I love cooking steak. I can cook steak anyway.
Oh, I'm glad, because I suck at it.
I also have a culinary degree, so I'm probably cheating.
Yeah, and so I worked in a steakhouse, and I was able to cook, well enough. I was able to cook well enough for them on the rare times that I did. But yeah, I mean, like at home, I in the restaurant I can hit medium every time. At home, I can't hit medium with the broadside of a barn.
Damn it! I want steak now.
Me too. But that's another story for another time. But anyway,
you don't eat steak?
I like steak, but pizza is my comfort food, man. I can eat pizza every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
And so,
I make some damn good pizza too.
Yeah, my mom's Mexican as mine. But anyway,
can you make tacos?
Yes. My point to all this is that where's the love? No. What was my point? Did I have a point when this started?
We were talking about Smashing Pumpkins and how
music isn't wrestling.
And that's 100% confirmed.
Well, okay. My point is that Billy says, "Well, I did my own thing in music, and I was pretty successful at that."
Yeah.
Well, the question is, how successful was he long term? Truly, compared with major acts.
Stones are still successful. Never were not successful.
Yes.
I mean, Stones can still sell out a concert and they shouldn't perform at all.
Kiss had a short time where they weren't successful, but they were successful 95% of the time.
And I mean, you're not wrong. And so those, these are the things. It's like he says he wants to compete with WWE at some point, part of his 20-year plan, which we're 6 or 7 years into now. I lose track. And so, we're down to 13 years or so. And it's just, but he's not interested in producing something that will be successful. He's interested in producing what he likes. And then his hope is that what he likes to produce will be successful.
In his go ahead.
I'm going to say the problem is there are people who do promote what they like and can be successful at it, but that's the rarity. That's not the norm. Vince McMahon was successful promoting what he liked. Unfortunately, as good or bad as you want to promote it.
Can I say something?
I'm sure you can.
All right. I'm a business owner, and I rely on word of mouth for my business. I don't spend a lot of money on advertising. I kind of do it the way I want to do it. And yeah, I had some history of working for my father, who did the same business for about 8 years before I started doing it completely by myself. And there's a lot of things that I do that he taught me, and there's a lot of things I don't do that he tried to teach me. I guess the point that I'm making is I only do what I want to do too. Come at me now, because I could be doing a hell of a lot more to be promoting this website and podcast. I could be working tirelessly all the time to try to get more content up here. I could be doing a live stream every day. But that, there's some people in the chat who will join me on a live stream almost every day. But at the end of the day, that's not what I want to do.
But let me ask you this question. Let's look at a website like PW Insider, Pro Wrestling
Sure.
Insider, Dave Shear and stuff like that. Do you say that you want to be competitive with PW Insider?
Not anymore.
Are you saying, yeah, maybe at one time you did, but that's the thing, is if you're saying that what I want is to be as successful and as big as and compete with Pro Wrestling Insider, PW Insider, then you're probably going to have to do things you don't want to do. You're probably going to have to give some control over certain aspects to other people, because these are groups that end up with. Well, do you know what made Vince successful? He was willing to spend the money to have big groups to do things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, Jim Cornette talks about Vince had a huge marketing department where even as part of Turner, they had like 3 marketing people or 2.5 or something like that. That Vince does what is necessary. Yeah, he was able to produce what he liked, but he was able to get out there in a way he spent a lot of money. People forget Vince was on the verge of going bankrupt with the first WrestleMania.
Yeah.
If WrestleMania 1 had failed, there would be no WWE today. So you got to invest the money, you got to take the risk, you got to be willing to go broke. And I don't think Billy's there. Billy's never going to be in a thing where, and I'm not saying it's wrong, don't get me, don't misquote me here. But I don't think Billy's ever going to be in a position where he's willing to go broke to promote the NWA.
No, but I would say this, and hear me out now.
Who are you, Autumn?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
When you look at the NWA and what Billy has done, he's done a lot more than what some people were willing to do, especially during the pandemic. He was still paying a lot of talent, and they produced nothing for nearly a year. And I think, in some ways, I think that's commendable. Ring of Honor did something similar, and it drove them out of business. The NWA was a much smaller scale model, so he could do that.
Yeah, New Japan did something similar, and it almost drove them out of business.
Who did?
New Japan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, let's be honest. New Japan isn't in good shape either. Why do you think all the top talent are leaving?
Yeah. And
there's more money to be made elsewhere, and the office that they're working for can't compete.
Well, and that's another thing with the shift in the world today, is that back in the day, what American promotion would hire that many top Japanese stars, either foreign or, native Japanese.
Yeah.
And, now there are people who are willing to do it. There are promotions who are willing to do it. And, we do live in a different world, and we do live in a different time. And there was also stories during the pandemic that Billy was ready to shut the door, lock up the belts in a closet, and, move on with his merry life.
Yeah.
So,
and next week
I'm thankful he didn't, but
I'm not.
Well, I still hope that the day will come when I probably won't be alive to see it, but I keep hoping the day will come when the right people are in charge and can put out who maybe have realistic goals and put out a thing. If Billy came out and said, you know what, my goal is X. I want to get to like the same level as TNA Impact. Then you can sit there and go, well, you can probably do that if you're willing to pay money for talent.
Now I know both of you guys have worked for big corporations, and I know both of you guys have had retail experience and working in corporate America. There's something that I learned when I was working for corporate America, and that was the big, hairy, audacious goals. You always had these huge, seemingly unattainable goals that this is what you're building towards. And again, don't make me defend Billy, but this is one of those times where I'm going to defend Billy. Yeah, he wants to compete with the WWE. That's his long-term goal. But, you got to crawl before you can walk, son, and you could walk before you could jog, and you got to jog before you can run. And Billy's biggest problem is his own self-awareness is not very high. He knows that he's a rock star. He knows that he's a dork. He knows this, but he also doesn't understand that he's not Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He is not Tony Khan. He's not even Dixie Carter. And I don't think he knows that. And he says, oh, yeah, my name will get me into the room. Sure, it'll get you in the room, but it doesn't get you paid. And yeah, who wouldn't want to meet a rock star? But that doesn't mean that they're going to sign a contract. And I think it's going to be very telling of the next year what Billy's stardom is going to be able to do for the NWA. Because, look, we've said it on this show. I've said it personally. We know that Impact, TNA Wrestling, was looking to get the same deal that the NWA was. The United Wrestling Network was looking to get the same deal that the NWA was. And I'm under the impression that there were more companies who were trying to secure the same deal that Billy got. Dave Marquez says he was at the 5-yard line and got, and fumbled the ball. And it wasn't like him fumbling it. It's just they opted to go with somebody else. I do believe that Billy's superstardom opened that door for him. But let's be honest, what is the difference in terms of quality between the United Wrestling Network and the NWA?
NWA has a history and name on it and a few more name stars and Billy Corgan.
And Billy has money to spend a little bit more than Dave Marquez does.
Well, and I think to go back to your thing, you pointed out that having worked in corporate America and big corporate America, yeah, the big corporations did have those large goals, but that was the point. They were the big corporations. I also worked in restaurants where the goal was to hopefully open a second store.
Yeah.
And look, I didn't work for this one, but I remember it. And there was a person that opened a home cooking place here in Burleson, and it was pretty good. And she went and opened a second one in a smaller town just to our south. And she was saying one time, she goes, that one actually does better business than the one here in the larger town. And then one day they shut down to remodel, which I don't know if you know this or not, but places that shut down to remodel 9 times out of 10 never come back. And so that one was shut down, never came back. And then her one in the smaller town, she shut that one down about 4 months later. And when somebody was talking to her, she said, you know what? I always wanted to own a restaurant. And she goes, I knew it would be a lot of hard work. She goes, but when push came to shove, the payoff wasn't worth the work I was doing.
I think that's a good spot to leave tonight on a high note, as always.
Always. We're happy-go-lucky people.
Next week,
unless you're a cloud.
Unless you're a cloud. Next week, we already have in plan, unless something happens, we're going to be taking a look back at the time of NWA yesteryear, specifically looking at TNA and what would have happened had TNA and the NWA kept that relationship going. Of course, this is just food for thought. None of it is based in fact, just, thoughts and ideas.
What ifs?
What ifs. It's the what if episode. And
take a picture of DK's face on the watcher, and that should be our graphic for that episode.
Done. All right. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. Of course, we want to recommend and encourage all of our friends and fans who are outside of the U.S. that don't have the opportunity to watch the NWA content going forward to check out Dog on youtube.com/Dog Pro Wrestling. That's DAWG, Dog. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, if you will, where wrestling content is being posted very regularly. And in Jaden, there's a show coming up. Excuse me. There's an event coming up in just a few weeks, right? When are we looking at the next Dog event?
It's not a dog event. It's a MAWA event, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance.
Okay.
But the Dog Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship will be on the line at that, as champion Justin Adams will defend against former champion, the man who never lost it, Breaker Morant. So Breaker Morant wants to show that there's some fight in this dog, and he wants to be the first ever two-time dog champion. But Justin Adams has a lot to say about that. He's been itching to defend the championship, and now he gets the opportunity defending it against former champion Breaker Morant. This is a match that's worth the ticket price alone of $20. So make sure you go get your tickets. Contact the MAWA Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance through their Instagram or for their on the poster if you want. I'll post it somewhere. And contact to make sure you're there, because it's that match alone. You're going to buy the entire chair, but you're only going to need the edge of the seat.
The edge. And Mr. DKM, if folks want to not bother you on social media, how do they do that?
Get a life. But if you don't have one, you can come check me out at DKMFWTX, where my recent Twitter or X has been more on the political side, and don't post much on anything else.
But he loves when you send him cat videos and pictures of Yannette Garcia.
Well, everybody likes it when you see videos of that. But anyway, and people getting hurt. Jaden likes pictures of people getting hurt. So, or not.
I don't like pictures of people getting hurt, but I do like watching videos of people getting hurt.
Yeah, see, he's a big fan of videos of people getting hurt, especially kids. I haven't figured it out yet.
And sharks. I like sharks too.
He does like sharks, especially if the shark is eating a kid. So.
Yeah, I feel bad for the sharks hurting themselves eating those kids.
Exactly.
You can follow everything that I'm doing at the Alliance blog.
You're dropping stuff.
That was my watch, and that's the Alliance blog on all of social media. We're talking X, Facebook, Instagram, Reels, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Blue Sky. I guess that's it. All I can think of off the top of my head.
I have a stupid question for you.
Let's go.
Why do you have a website that's alliance-wrestling.com, but all your social media is Alliance blog?
It's a great question. The name alliance-wrestling.com was first. It was registered. It was built behind. It was a Facebook page. Later, when I went to go get Twitter, now X, Alliance-Wrestling did not fit. So I needed a name that would fit on Twitter, because at the time Twitter was a viable place to promote websites and the such.
Not a cesspool of evil.
No, and I always thought it would be smart to have a uniform social media so that I could say, follow me at blank, and it didn't matter where. You could follow anywhere, and if you type in the Alliance blog, the podcast will show up. And at the time, honestly, it was supposed to be Alliance-Wrestling, but because of the limitations of Twitter, I had to think on my feet, and so I went with the Alliance blog. So,
okay, I was always curious to that.
Well, and because of that, now if you go again to YouTube, you go to Discord, you go to Spotify, you go to iTunes. The Alliance blog is how you'll find everything that we're doing. And I've always thought about maybe changing the name too, but it's like, well, I like alliance-wrestling.com. It's your
number one source of news and information.
Yeah. So I got that going for me. we'll be back on Tuesday with more pre-party. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. There's no NWA for another at least another week or so. So I don't know what we're doing on Tuesday. Maybe I'll have a special guest come and join us, and we'll talk about records. And then Wednesday,
What about hot women?
Well, I mean, I could have my wife come on.
Whatever it takes.
I bet you she'll increase the views.
You should,
Have you seen that meme?
should have your wife come on. She's a funny person. I like her.
She's a great person, but I don't think she has the patience.
I've met her.
You have?
And talked to her and everything. So I think for one episode, she would be a lot of fun. And she can tell stories about how you used to drag her to wrestling by her hair, despite the fact that she hated it. And
kicking and screaming.
I was taking her to wrestling shows 8.5 months into her pregnancy with Claire. So
and stories about how Adam Pearce actually liked her more than he likes you, and
everybody likes her more than they like me, dude. That's not a surprise.
So you need to bring her. Tell her that DKM and Jaden say that she has to do one show with you, a pre-party show, so it can just be the two of you.
Well, if that's gonna happen, she would just want to do it by herself.
Okay, have her substitute for you.
That might be an interesting thought, and something maybe I'll run by her. But
her nickname will be the Alliance Babe.
It's better than the yeah. That's a good one. I like that. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it, guys. Thanks again for tuning in to the Alliance Guys podcast. And until next time, I'm gonna do it right because I forgot yesterday. I'm gonna do it right. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media